themselves. A couple of words there saying that it's going to be won or lost from the bot lane. I cannot agree anymore. Welcome back, one and all, to the LPL. We are going to be jumping as quick as we possibly can into this first game between EDG and LNG. We are a little bit behind, of course, because we were in Shanghai when we moved all the way to Suzhou, which started off a little bit earlier. And we're going to see how this game is going to kind of set itself up and move itself forward, because it does feel like this is going to come down to between Uzi and Gala, two ex-RNG AD carries, two MSI champions with that organization now, with new orgs and new ambitions.
And looking at these bot lanes, we have Emilio that got through the draft. We have two hyperscaling AD carries. You were saying earlier, feels like all AD carries are hyperscaling nowadays, but Xayah and Aphelios both have all the tools in the toolbox to make those team fights really perilous to face against them.
We jump straight into the Rift here. We'll see exactly how both these sides kind of go for right now. And of course, again, the premier matchup has to be Uzi versus Gala. These two massive AD carries, massive kind of, you know, just threats in their own right. But also it was kind of interesting as well, because obviously Uzi left RNG and then Gala stepped in and stepped up. You know, a lot of people saying, how do you go from Uzi to another player? It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, but Gala did it. And I think that there's a lot of respect for this guy. He hasn't been able to kind of see as much international or domestic success in the last few season or split or so, but definitely still a player you got to put massive props to, especially when he goes into the kind of a team as stacked as LNG.
And what is going to be so fun to watch is that both of these AD carries share an identity where it feels like if you don't kill them at the very start of the fights in these big 5v5s, they will end it for you. Both of these carries have found such success with that kind of play style, making the most of those huge team fights in the later into the game. We do have Renekton on the top side of the map. It's a rarely seen champion in the current meta. It's fairly good into the Jax, but ours Jax is another sort of beast. So Zika, he had this as a comfort champion in spring. We'll have to show results on it here in game one.
Absolutely, and of course for Ala, going up against his former organization once more again, was with LNG in 2021, and now up against Edward, or up on Edward Gaming Go against his old team. And Ala's always kind of been one of those interesting top laners for me as well. Feels like he's one of those champions or one of those players that can have pop-off performances, but you still know and feel like he can just throw it away as well at any point in time. It does feel like he's a little hot and a little cold.
Absolutely. I think for me in spring, Ala was in my top 3 top laners. He was one of the guys alongside Bin and maybe someone like 369 as well. He was really showing up on individual carries, playing through topside and a bot-sided meta. Shanji as well springs to mind on that list. And in this game, particularly into the Renekton and the Wukong top side, if this Jax becomes a threat, we'll at least be able to hold those two early game teamfight menaces to a bit of a standstill. Jiejie looking to get into the jungle himself as Viego into the Wukong.
They're still going at it. Jiejie trying to use the aggression that you get with the level 3 on the Viego before Tarzan can just kind of have himself a happy CSing time. And look at the way the lanes are. Every single lane is in priority here for EDG. Bot, mid, and top, so there's just no way that LNG's laners can even come back and help him out with this. So yeah, just straight up buff trade. Jiejie just using that priority exceptionally well.
Yeah, red side to red side, having the pushing mid early allows Jiejie to cross mid uncontested. One of the big win conditions for EDG in spring was Jiejie being just the best jungler in the league. The other contestant for that was Tarzan.
Yeah.
Both of them have had a weaker summer than I think they would have liked, especially given their form in spring, but Jiejie controlling both red side quadrants early into this game. Important to make sure that he has first run of the map.
Let's see what I'm going to go for. I will say this is a composition that EDG have built for themselves. And we saw this in the last series when Uzi kind of brought themselves up. This is something they are very clearly pushing for. Double front line, technically, you know, 2.5 front line, I would say, with the Jax, the Viego, and the Cassante, with an Enchanter as well, on something like an Aphelios. You should, in theory, be able to kind of survive a hell of a lot that's thrown at you. I will say the big thing that I'm looking at right now is he doesn't have a cleanse. Went with the Ghost instead, so going a little bit more aggressively, and that could be absolutely massive going into these, you know, later game team fights.
Yeah, I'll have to see if whether there's going to be Mikhail's built up by Meiko. That could be very impactful. On the other side, you do, of course, have, on the whole, quite an early game scaling top lane, at least with the top jungle combo. It feels like the engage from LNG is not going to be easily met. I'm wondering if Scout goes towards a higher DPS build, given that it's a low range HP building top side. You could go towards the Andrews and the Ahri. However, given the rest of the team, you might need that Everfrost just for a bit more AoE CC to make Tarzan's life easier. As it stands, EDG is trying to make Hung and Gala's life a little harder.
Ooh, that turret shot though right onto Uzi. Yeah, I mean, look, it guarantees them a plate, but they definitely could have gone a little bit more. I think that they had to back themselves away as Uzi unfortunately took just a little bit too much damage there. Even though it was only the one tower shot, definitely feels like you, especially early on in this game, you cannot be risking that kind of a dive with such low health bars.
For sure, especially when both these AD carries know how to use a lead, and we expect bot lane to have a lot of leads to be played around. Zika has level 6. Ooh, stun goes into the counter-strike. Awkward moment. Of course, Gala hitting 6 under that turret. I was wondering if it was going to lead to an all-in. Not to be the case. Dominus still too powerful in that early game. Gala, though, keeping up the farm early. Zika not getting the most out of this Renekton pick so far.
So far, but we'll wait and see. TP comes back in from both top laners and mid laners as well. So we're going to wait to see now. Level 6 is here for FoFo and Scout, so might be a bit of an aggressive take going up towards this dragon. It is EDG who do have the priority over for the moment. And Gala just kind of pathing back in towards the spot side. And again, with Emilio, yes, it's great having him in the lane and, of course, the team fights. But when he wants to be aggressive, he's not exactly a Nautilus. So I think this is just going to be an easy pickup here for the side of EDG.
It's not exactly a Rakan either, which can escape from most of his warding mission mishaps. So he's not going to look in too difficult towards that dragon. It's going to go down to the side of EDG. Early game, bot lane, pressure, all of those pushing lanes with an aggressive jungle. That has been the calling card of the meta, particularly since MSI. It's going to mean that LNG, their first crack of the game, might come around that Herald. Renekton is one of the best Herald fighters in the game with his first ultimate of the game. Are you going to fight on that an even footing, though? Because Jiejie is looking bot lane again.
Really wants to make this one work on this bot side. Again, so difficult when you have Emilio. Trying to see if they can maybe gain something here as this wave does crash. And Uzi and Meiko are having a much better time of it as well. You can see a 15 or so CS lead, depending on how these minions go, in favor of Uzi over Gala.
That's going to be a 10 CS lead down on that bot side. So, I think I lost you for a second there. We said
I died,
exactly the same thing,
definitely died.
We'd said exactly the same thing, though, so completely on the same wavelength.
Nice.
What now we need to see is what's going to happen in the next minute in regards to resets, because we've got 40 seconds till this Herald, as you were saying. Renekton, first dominance of the game, very good at fighting around Herald, but if bot lane advantages ends up affecting resets, ends up affecting which jungle, rather which support or which AD carry can make it towards that objective, that can affect it in turn. You can see currently with the Caliber and Crescendo, great work done by Uzi to force Gala and Hung back. They're not going to be able to get up towards that Herald. It's going to be an entirely top-sided affair. But EDG aren't even looking for it right now. They're just looking to continue to pile down the hurt on this bot side.
And the thing is, despite Jiejie putting in so much time and effort in this bot side, because he's consistently been taking away the Krugs, he's actually ahead on farm as well. So now we're going to see them go for a little bit of engage. Oh, Meiko, though, gets caught out and Hung gets taken out. That's going to be a trade back, though, of supports. 1-for-1. Feathers fly. Jiejie with the Milio, not going to be able to do much else than just heal up the Aphelios, but a 1-for-1 trade, definitely not a bad situation to be in here for LNG, considering the amount of time and presence that EDG were putting in that bot side.
And the kill goes to Gala. You still lose so many summoners on the side of EDG. It's a bit of an imperfect dive. Gala walks away with more than EDG would have liked to do so. EDG focusing very hard on this bot side yet again. Somewhat surprised that LNG haven't gone towards an earlier Herald start currently. Uzi's still in that brush for a second. Observer's playing with us. Going to complete that recall, gets himself back to base. This does mean that Hung is going to be first support onto the map towards this top side. As we said, the Herald fight from LNG looks stronger in the early game than EDG. Going to see if they can get that one for free.
Yeah, 1-for-1, definitely not a bad situation. Meiko being like, oi, where do you think you're going on that bot side? We're going to hold this wave in an awkward position for the Xayah. So, however, because of that, and because they are prioritizing the farm and the presence here for Uzi, it does mean that the Rift Herald should be going pretty easily over to the side of LNG. No contest to be coming out here from Jiejie. While this is all happening, we are seeing, again, more and more presence from this Renekton. The thing is, in isolation, this is why the kind of Renekton is so touted so powerfully, or so, you know, kind of in that laning phase, is that he's always pushed up. He's always kind of putting this Jax underneath the tower, keeping pressure down. And this is, you know, without jungle intervention, the Ala Jax just has to accept it.
Yeah, he doesn't have a teleport either. Low enough HP. He's going to cancel it back again. It's so annoying. Kicks that football at him. Jiejie at least here to At least buy some space for him. Tarzan's here as well. I don't think they can force towards this. Plate's going down on the bot side. Zika's not there to defend the turret. So while all this has happened, you've opened up that CS lead again. You've taken 3 turrets plates on that bot side. Uzi is winning this cross-map trade.
100%. And now Zika will get himself here. But again, remember, it's Renekton. He's not exactly the tankiest of guys in the world. So that they wanted to go for a dive, they could. And with now finally getting Tarzan to come up here with Gala, try and trade this one back. They're going to try and just, win this turret race. With, I will say, having the Rift Herald should be fine. But that's 4 plates in this bot side. Maybe not the tower, but still, look at the gold going over to Uzi.
At least Zika manages to get a bit of that wave clear in. We've got one of the best tower killing junglers in the game because of his clone and the Q, both affecting the tower at that point. Wondering what Allah's going to do with this wave now. He is going to end up pushing it out. I was wondering if there was an option for a brief freeze, but I think with teleport available to Allah coming out soon, he'd rather push it in and be able to teleport to a fight should it be appropriate to do so. And it looks like LNG, they're resetting and heading towards that next neutral objective of the game.
Ooh, not going to spot that word out. Not going to, just about, I was going to say, not going to spot that one either, but doesn't end up finding that one here. Hung should be able to steal that one, no problem whatsoever. Jiejie repays in kind. So obviously, we talked about how EDG have built themselves a little bit of a front to back. They are trying to protect Uzi with this Lulu as well. How do LNG want to approach fights? Because it does feel like with the Wukong and the Ahri, they have so much mobility to try and get in on top of this AD carry.
But this is where you look at the item build from Scout, and you think that shows a little bit of how LNG might want to play the game. Liandry's likely to come in because of that Finnish Codex built up, which means that with the first strike, Liandry's as sole AP on the Ahri, you can do significant damage to Shax, Viego, and the Kasance. Maybe LNG are looking to play front to back themselves and try and just have higher damage because they have a longer range damage threat in the mid lane.
That was Ghost used by Uzi there just before, or just as the dragon spawns, so LNG looking to be aggressive here around this objective. Not going to let the stacking come in just yet from EDG, but him healing up fairly easily here with a Severum. Should be fine to kind of go for it. Zika has already used his stun, and that's why he immediately goes into the Dominus. Allah thinking about it right now. There's a flash for both these guys. There's the leap strike after the second slice and dice comes in. Flash in with a Q would be nice, but a counter strike should stop it. Zika wants it, and Allah has to respect it. Zika winning in this topside matchup.
Observers focus in on the Renekton. You can see that W cooldown just ticking down. Allah not able to get out completely safely. And what this does mean is now you suddenly got a flashless Jax who can't impact the next few minutes of the play. Will have to be a little bit more respectful, rather. EDG once again putting their focus down towards the bot side. Allah not really receiving any attention this game.
It's getting a very much not the kind of flow we generally see from teams this early on in the game. Normally it's kind of like, okay, you're going for Dragon, we don't want to contest it, we'll go for this, we'll go for that. But both these teams throwing everything into this bot side to try and gain priority. And again, it comes down to what both Hong and Meiko said in the interview before we came into this matchup. This game is going to be won or lost from bot side, and you can see just right now they're putting in so much emphasis to make sure they can win these bot lane fights.
But considering how both of these teams played in spring, they had LP and Leave on their rosters, they were playing more towards their junglers, their mid-jungle combinations. They've taken a backseat in this game as it stands. Teleport's coming in, and Dragon is the focus.
Here we go. Dragon going to be the focus. Is going to be a quick steal. Yes, it is. Jiejie does get stunned up, though, with the charm afterwards. Tarzan very low and taken out. Now the resets can come in. It's a great fight for EDG if they can keep going forward with it, but Scout immediately going into Uzi way wide with that Moonlight Vigil. Unfortunately for him, means he's not going to get much else. A flash forward, but FoFo may have gone too far in. Does not get himself anything else. Jiejie almost getting the execute down as well. Lots of summoners burn, but at the end, it's EDG with the kills, and it's EDG with the Dragon.
LNG, they tried to pull a fast one over EDG, take the Bad Dragon as quickly as possible, but FoFo gets the flank. EDG managing to get themselves the steal, and they get to have some free time with their superior health bars afterwards. Uzi, once again, continuing to shove down on this bot side turret, not able to get the last plate on this bot lane outer, but able to take the tower down nonetheless. Wasn't the cleanest team fight from EDG, but they did more than enough.
Did more than enough. Let's have a look at the replay here again. Because again, it's LNG forcing this Dragon to try and stop the stacking early on, and it's just Jiejie just kind of saying, look, I'm unthreatened. No one's really kind of pushing me away.
One of the other big things here is once you've used the Cozy Campfire from the Nymeara, it's on a very long cooldown. They don't have that for the big turnaround afterwards. Tarzan just becomes a soul to be stolen by Viego. Jiejie ults backwards. Maybe could have finished off Scout afterwards, but Not quite able to do so. This was close, though. And you can see definitely what happens, though. When you have the Andrews build on the Ari, the ticking down damage on FoFo is fairly significant. He's lucky to get out of that one alive. Just about does so, though. Even it up in gold, now coming back out onto the map. Second Herald, the next object of desire.
It's been a low-kill game, but it hasn't been devoid of action for the moment. We are seeing plenty of skirmishes coming around between both of these squads, and both AD carries finishing up their Kraken Slayer. It's kind of become the standard first item now in the meta. There was a little bit of a fluctuation, people still going towards that Stormbrazer as such, but it does feel like we've landed back on the Kraken. It's still such an exceptional carry, you know, kind of even just late game as well, to give you that extra damage when you're dealing with such beefy front lines of the EDG. It definitely feels like LNG making the right choice here with the pick, but looks like Rift Herald is going to be kind of EDG's to start, but will it be theirs to take? They got plenty of vision at the moment, but not
Zika's teleport to mid.
Yeah, not the most confident of plays.
I think EDG, again, you're at the point in time where really the Renekton around these Herald fights is so annoying because that first Dominus of the game, it gives you access to basically 2 empowered abilities. Watch out for this Renekton. How much value is he going to get?
How much value indeed. Goes into the Dominus and getting all outed as well by FoFo. He doesn't go down though just yet. Tarzan's decoy soaks up a hell of a lot. Uzi with all the chakrams in the world. Looks like Gala going to have to go into his ultimate. So much work there coming out here from Uzi. He almost turns that fight into a 1v4 and he almost wins.
Almost does. Gets so many chakrams. Got a full armory floating around him, orbiting his body very, very close. And Zika, despite the fact that he manages to survive that fight, doesn't get huge value out of that Renekton. Flash stun would have been incredibly powerful. Of course, didn't have that flash, so he's not got the easiest way into that fight. LNG, they dissuade, well, at least they stop themselves from dying. I suppose they dissuade a little bit of that Herald kind of fight kind of coming into fruition. But EDG, they're still walking away, forcing LNG back. And as soon as this Renekton comes out of early game, it's going to be very difficult for Zika to really function in this game.
So was the Herald taken by LNG?
I was just saying, I was like, oh,
yeah, I was looking at it.
I didn't see the Herald in inventory. I'm like, but EDG won the fight. Okay,
yeah,
right.
Did.
I saw what happened here. Maybe it was Tarzan that took it and he had to be forced away. That would make a lot of sense. Yes, goes down to Tarzan, but he's not able to stick around and pick it up. I really wonder whether they should have just tried to bail, leave the fight, walk away with the objective. Not able to do so. Scout not able to pick it up himself either, even with the Spirit Rush charges.
My
God. Chakrams, though. Yeah, this is one of those fights. It's really hard to get fights like this. Red and White has an incredible high damage potential with the Sever and Crescendum stacking up so quickly. But trying to actually sit in range for those auto attacks, in pro play at least, it's quite difficult to do. But Uzi showing exactly how much damage he can do. Yeah,
well, Scout, we're going to lose a Spirit Rush over the wall there because unfortunately he gets caught out. Over back again and then realizes, nope, bonk on the head, get back over that wall. EDG kind of building a bit of confidence right now. It's still an incredibly even game. Gold basically... It's basically at parity between the two teams. AD carries at the same point as well as they both build towards what I imagine is a Gale Force for Uzi and a Navari Quick Blade for Gala. It comes down to execution now. Neither of these teams have kind of an easy point and click CC out of, outside of, kind of flashing in and trying to catch somebody out. So it's going to be very much about how you play these fights. It's going to become the big important factor for these two teams.
And particularly with, I mean, Gordrink is pretty good for the Renekton in this game, given the very low-range top side from EDG. You're not really going to be doing that much damage to the backline. You are just being a real beefball in the front line. That is Zika's job. He's not here right now, though. Front line from LNG is somewhat lacking. That's a good charm onto the Enchanter.
It is a good charm. Tarzan does use his decoy and his flash to get away. The feathers go flying there. Not quite sure what Gala was hoping to do there, maybe expecting someone to walk a little bit too far forward, but without any of those ultimates or summoners available for LNG, I think they got to give up the soul. I don't think there's much place for them to kind of contest this.
That's a mess from LNG. No ultimate from Desire, really hurting them here. Using a lot of cooldowns for not that much threat from EDG. It was just a counter-strike being channeled from Ala, which forces that one out. Now suddenly, LNG, they have to face off against a very early soul point from EDG, who have just coasted into this lead.
You really have. It's going to be about 24, 25 minutes soul for EDG. And when you have such a beefy front line as well with the Cassante and the Jax. Oh, never mind, Uzi. He gets caught out with a Cyclone. Not even quite sure how that happened there. And despite everything that happened in that last fight, LNG just walk up and kill him.
Scout?
Not quite.
Hey, so LNG lose the dragon, get themselves a mid lane turret and a kill onto the president himself, Mr. Uzi, in that bot lane. Tarzan, I thought he was going to get spotted out by the tower. I think it goes down just before he pops that clone. catches Uzi completely unaware. So EDG finding themselves being bitten back against very briefly. We talked about this, observers, earlier. You don't have to focus on every flub that happens. They're not quite able to get their ear over the wall.
No, show me. If you want me to show me, if you want me to show your victories, you got to show me.
Show me their Mortal 2.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's just Uzi kind of walking forward, and then, I mean, I don't really know what quite happens. I think he just forgets, or maybe he doesn't realize how low of a cooldown some of these ultimates are.
I think that is really well timed from Tarzan to use the clone as the tower falls, because maybe you get lulled into a false sense of security saying, okay, you get the true sight coming in from the tower, you get to spot Wukong going into the clone, it falls, immediately presses clone, immediately goes on top of him. Uzi just disrespecting the engage range from Tarzan, who has had a difficult game so far, not really landed that many killer blows, but that one was an important one.
Absolutely, and it's the thing why the Wukong and the Vi and such are just such high priority in the meta right now. You can get opportunities like that, just kind of almost point and click and CC with the Tarzan clone kind of masking you away. But we come back into live, and again, still a very even game. It's kind of only that kill difference or tower difference, I should say. That's really the difference between these two teams in terms of goal. But important for EDG, they have 3 dragons. They are going to be, in 3 minutes' time, looking at a Ocean Soul point. And again, for a Jax, a Viego, a Cassante, hell, even I would argue with an Aphelios being in his red and whites, if he ends up having that combination, so powerful to keep them going in these fights and just keeping them alive while LNG just kind of, you know, try and find an opportunity to get them back.
So we're taking a hard trade versus Ala. Once again, outplayed by the Counter-Strike. Has to pop the Dominus. Teleport's coming.
Teleport coming in, but Meiko's going to be the 3rd man. It's going to be a 3v2. The charm is decent, but Zika is dead. Nicely done here by EDG to capitalize on what was a little bit of a false moment. Jiejie taken out, though, on the other side. Anything you can do, we can do as well. LNG going for tit for tat on the kill board.
And that's jungler down. With Baron on the board, I don't think you can start this. I don't think you can tank it and also try to finish it as well. You'd be looking for a fight, particularly with Scout's TP down, not able to do so. So LNG, they managed to get something across the map. Tarzan, again, he's not had the best summer considering he was one of the very best junglers in LPL Spring 23. He's not quite been able to live up to his own expectations, but he's, of course, one of the greatest junglers across the world and has been for a number of years since his debut on Griffin. Has to be so very important, though, to his team in this one. The engage is not easy from LNG to play, but these kind of picks can make it put into question.
And that's the big thing as well. I think for Spring, specifically Jiejie and Tarzan, as you mentioned, probably the 2 best junglers in the league at the time. Like, you know, you could definitely have an argument for Kanavi towards the later side, but these
Kanavi,
2 guys...
when his lanes were winning in Spring,
yes,
great, but he didn't have, like, the overall playstyle we've seen since MSI and Sins.
Exactly. So coming into summer, there was a lot of expectations coming in here for these 2 junglers, specifically, obviously, the mid-jungle combination. And for both these squads, I think earlier on the season, it's obviously specifically more so for EDG as their scoreline indicates, but, like, there hasn't been that level of consistency between these mid-jungles. And I really do feel like it's kind of a, again, when you reach so high, not getting up to those heights again is going to be disappointments. You know, one team is happy with just not, you know, avoiding relegation sometimes in the Premier League, and other teams disappointed they didn't win. So it's just about perspective.
Absolutely. So perspective EDG, though, is that they've brought in a superstar AD carry. Maybe he can be a general and a rallying cry for the org to find itself back towards the top of the table. They're currently sat at 2 and 3. They were 1 and 3 before Uzi joined, so he's undefeated in series, if not in games. It was a 2-1 in that one victory. We ran that one.
Not undefeated on Aphelios,
though. Undefeated in 2023.
Did lose on the Aphelios as well. Very unfortunate.
That he did. Items coming in. Second one's across the board. Got the Zhonya's coming in for Scout. Allows him to play a little bit more riskily into the likes of the Jax Counter-Strike. Try and outplay that one. However, the Gargoyle Stoneplate coming in from FoFo. FoFo been picking up the Cassante a lot in the mid lane. It's not really been Arlo playing that champion. It's been mainly FoFo doing that one. He'll be trying to play frontline as best as he possibly can versus LNG's team fight.
There we go. TP from Arlo brings him back in here. Remember, this is Ocean Soul. With the game as even as it is, it can be these little differences that keep you ahead of the game. Charm goes wide. Arlo putting down the Counter-Strike. Meiko taking a fair chunk and pops the heal on top of himself. And now Uzi wants to try and get rid of this Infernum. You can see he's almost got back to the red and white and really wants to fight, but not quite got that gun combination just yet. He's going to start up this dragon, 6,000 HP, an immediate clear of the vision right now. FoFo going forward, seeing if he can catch somebody out, but these health bars are still very, very healthy. A lot of posturing for the moment, but nobody committing just yet.
Yeah, the range is not high from both teams. The AD carries are high. We're going for the smites.
They're going to go for it, but it's EDG's Uzi who confirms it. Now do they want to go for the fight afterwards? Oh my lord, that could have been huge if it wasn't for the Milios. And now the fight can turn back in favor of LNG. They've got the croc in the backside, and Uzi is dead. Massive ultimate from Milio, the secret MVP of that entire fight, because that counter-strike from Ala looked beautiful.
It did, but then the Renekton, who we thought had timed out his usefulness in this game, ends up with a kill like this. Started off with another couple as well. And LNG, they lose the soul, but they take the fight. They need the Baron off of this. You've given up the permanent soul of the Ocean, which is very, very dangerous to play against. You'd imagine Jiejie picks up a kill onto Zika on this bot side, but the Baron will go down afterwards.
So unfortunate as well. I don't know exactly where the Moonlight Vigil went. Jiejie in a bit of a 1v1 will win it, but while that's happening, the big purple worm's been taken down. EDG get themselves a soul. But it is LNG with the priority in this game, so we'll see what ends up being bigger, a temporary or a permanent buff.
Exactly, you need to get some really big advantages out of this from the side of LNG. There are a lot of HP stackers backed up by Lulu's shields to make the large use out of that Ocean buff. It comes down to Aphelios somehow taking that one. It wasn't with the Moonlight Vigil, just an auto attack or whatever from the Inferno after that point. Good call out on the Milio ultimate. It's a huge cleanse, saving 3 of his teammates from that one. But after this point, again, got to remind you that this is the Leandries coming out of the Ahri, which it has kind of like a Lord Dominates regards passive on it. Gives you more damage against high HP targets, which allows for Scout to get some decent damage coming across that alongside the max HP burn as well. EDG still need to be careful in these fights. I don't think Ocean Soul is a de facto win condition for them. It's very good, it's very powerful, but it's not like there isn't damage on the side of LNG between Scout and Gala. Back out onto the Rift, Baron buff. Shuffling in the minions towards enemy side of the map. Scout feels safe enough with his Zhonya's, his flash and his ult to stay alone in the side lane for a little bit. EDG trying to defend themselves this inner turret. However, Ala's got himself a split push going on the other side. Pushing in Zika on that Renekton. Renekton had a great team fight the last time of asking, but it wasn't necessarily the easiest of early games. Didn't manage to get the early value either in lane around those Herald fights. We expect that champion to really make his mark. Won't be the case coming into this late game. Still, EDG being pushed in across the board. This is what you need to see from LNG, get value out of the temporary buff for the permanent one they gave over. Didn't quite manage to get that spike teleports.
We're going to see a fight. Yeah, straight away we see Tarzan going down and can't take this team lightly. That tower still remains, and Zika now starting to lose that side lane. Here we go. Ala going to jump in with the counter-strike, gets the Dominus out, and he still has himself his ultimate as well. So TP going to be coming in. Do they try and fully commit to this? Whoa, Ala trying to jump in, but the Gore Drinker, the stun, the charm, and he gets baited into a false sense of security. There's even an assist for the Milio who put it on top of the Ahri right before they went for that fight. And that is just a really smart play coming out from the solo laners of LNG.
Always help your teammates. It's the Scout's code. Mid laner gets himself onto the board yet again. Close to his death cap too. Scout, that will be very, very good gold put into pocket. If you get 3 items onto this Ahri, there's a chance that even against the Ocean Soul, you can win the DPS race. Ala's been struggling on this Jax to get into the fights in the same way that I suppose Renekton has on the other side. As it stands, LNG, they're ahead a little bit in that gold, and the Baron power play, though it's not the best, it's still going to give them a little bit more gold in pocket. This is still a fairly competitive game.
Very, very competitive game, and I will say it's getting closer and closer to the point where the gold lead doesn't make a difference. Like you said, it's a little bit of a gold lead for LNG, but you would argue that the Ocean Soul regeneration and honestly just the straight up stats from 4 uncontested dragons in general is definitely making up for EDG. And with stopwatches kind of being picked up here for the side of EDG on Ala and of course onto Jiejie, they are feeling a little bit more confident to go for a big fight, but an Elder flip, it's the problem with going for such an early soul. Yes, you get the power of it, but it does lead open to such a huge opportunity, shall we say, for LNG.
One of the other things which often goes missed with Elder takes as well, Elder does more damage to you based on the amount of dragons which your team has taken. LNG has taken none, EDG has taken 4. So if LNG get onto the Elder Dragon first and they hold EDG in the river, they're more able to take that, tank that objective, look for some poke or a charm just beforehand. They have control of the map, that's what the Baron buff has given them. They have vision control too. LNG, despite fighting against the raw power of all those dragons in the soul like you were talking about, they can still win out an objective fight if they position correctly and they hold EDG in the river.
Have a look at Jiejie moving forward, and has a very big Ahri on scout right now. Rabadon's death cap with the Zhonya's 2, 0, and 3. Hasn't finished up the buff just yet. Still got themselves the Dark Seal to be a little bit more kind of set up. And important to notice is that Uzi, taking into stock what we talked about, has now got a QSS now available to him. So having that cleanse effectively for him could be massive in this next big team fight. 30 seconds till the Elder spawns. And it's LNG, as you mentioned there, Nymeara, who have got the priority in the river for the moment.
They do, but what damage can they get before this? Ocean Soul, you need to hit an enemy champion to activate it. The base dragons, of course, help you a little bit, but EDG, they don't have all the regen all the time. They're pushing in mid lane, trying to get their mid priorities. They don't have to walk through one of the really skinny choke points. Here they are, here's the engage.
Zika getting caught out a little bit, but they're going to go straight onto Uzi, who does heal up a lot with that Severum. You can see him doing a lot of work here, but FoFo already taken so low, and Uzi dies anyway because Gala found himself on the backside untouched. Triple kill in for Gala, and the AD carry of LNG is smashing EDG in this fight.
Smite's still alive. EDG could potentially look for a steal. LNG, what's their angle here? Scouts recalling, looking for a teleport back into the play. Are they looking to end or are they looking for Elder?
It looks like they're looking for the end. They still have a TP on Scout. Jiejie alive means they don't want to flip it for the moment. Yeah, they're just pushing in. Meiko trying to see if he can keep this wave away. They'll do a decent job of keeping Zika off of that, but now LNG, they've changed up their style. Jiejie's still hovering around. They don't know where the Viego is. The Dragon has started, and the TP's coming in. It looks like Jiejie's just going to give it up.
Again, Elder, easier to kill and does less damage to you because you don't have any of these dragons. Somehow, not taking a dragon this game is favoring LNG in this very specific moment. They get themselves the Elder onto all 5 members. They don't manage to get themselves the Baron just yet, but with the extra buff in play for them, you have to imagine that Baron would go down afterwards. Tarzan, once again, clutch engage onto the enemy AD carry. While this is happening, Scout getting his own damage with Leandries across the team, has himself a great charm onto Allah at the end of that, which stops him being able to body block for his AD carry. It's a number of minute plays which add up together, but because of that, Uzi basically can't fight.
Look at all the pings, look at all the pings. LNG know this is going on. They're running straight to it. Dominus has been popped here for LNG. Tarzan gets himself into the pit. 4,000 though. It's a little bit early now with the Elder Drake though in favor. They're going to see if they can burn down Uzi. FoFo is dead. Gala picking up more kills. The Baron's not even close to going down. And that's going to be the massive fight back in the favor of LNG. Scout even keeps himself alive right and cozy by the campfire. And that's going to put Meiko and Uzi, the last one standing, in an absolute no man's land. The Baron confirmed here for LNG. And with those 2 massive buffs, maybe Uzi can do something. He's got 200 years and a dream. But I feel like it's just an inevitability at this stage. They're cutting off the minion waves. So they have no protection. Uzi's going to have to pull off the play of plays to see if he can do it. He does dodge out from the charm. His Meiko is down, though, as he tries to turn this one back. Flashes in, gets the Milio. But with the Elder, it's just not enough. Look, a valiant effort from Uzi as he tried to turn that one back in their favor. But LNG now don't care about your Dragon buff because they've got themselves 10,000 more gold than you.
Tarzan with hero plays again. He's made Uzi's game unplayable. Yes, it's an ensemble effort. The chorus of LNG making it very hard for EDG to stand in front of their carries. But look at how safe Scout and Gala are. They haven't died between them this game, and with the remainder of the Elder and the Baron in tow, they're looking to end this game.
Not able to take it just yet. They've got pushing off right though with Gala, as he's just kind of untouchable, to be perfectly honest. Still has his ultimate available and the Ghost, so he can chase people down if he really wanted to. Even Meiko's going, you know what, dude? You can have that. You can have that inhibitor. I don't really care. I'm not going to stop you from that.
So Scout did a funny thing there where he forgot that Leandries applies a burn, and it means that if you walk into tower range, you then take aggro. So he takes a couple of tower shots, has to hold himself away at that inhibitor turret. And he's not even here for most of this fight. Didn't need to be. The Elder buff is so disgusting to play against. You don't even need your entirety of your damage right here. The Baron's helping out enough. Tarzan's helping out enough. And despite things getting very bursty with the Aphelios Lulu alive towards the end of this and being able to keep themselves topped up with their own Ocean Salt, they're not able to pull off the 2v4. Gala's not there at the end of it. Uzi very close to getting 2 off the end of this.
I mean,
It's just not quite.
Not far off. If it wasn't for the Elder Dragon, actually, Meiko probably survives. That's definitely a different conversation.
If it weren't for those meddling kids, the meddling kids.
If it weren't for them, you know, I have to call myself out on that. It's like one of those things of like, you know, it's like, oh, but if it weren't for this, the literally exact thing that changes the entire scope of a fight, then this would have been fine. It's like, that's not how the game works, Oisin. Stop putting up these hyperboles that just don't make no sense. But, I mean, this kind of is a bigger issue. Even, oh, I'm going to stop myself. It's a lot of damage onto Ala, but we talked, oh, great charm. As we can see, LNG is kind of knocking on the door. But for EDG, we talked about this. Yes, Uzi coming in. Very exciting.
Oh.
As, yeah, that's Jiejie probably going down. Uzi trying to see if he can stay alive and see if he can put out DPS. But Jiejie just gets caught out. And that is going to be you without a jungler, without a kind of any kind of disengage here for your team. And LNG are just kind of toying with them right now. They're too far ahead.
So Leon, they're playing well as a unit. Scout, he's kind of found the next answer to, hey, we're going to pick a tank into Ari. She won't do damage. You can change your build to help with that. He's 4-0-7. Deathcap, Void Staff, all the damage under the sun. And LNG looking to finally march in towards the base.
Yeah, they're looking to finish this one off. Oh, Moonlight Vigil going wide kind of puts Uzi's game into perspective. He just hasn't really been able the same impact. Here we go, though. Uzi could maybe make this one work. They're going to jump straight on top of him, though. Get the cleanse off. But look at Gala. Those feathers coming down are massive. It was all about the AD carries. It still is about the AD carries. Zika goes forward just to go into G8. They're throwing everything at the side of Uzi. Eventually, he goes down. He tried to 1v5, but it just wasn't going to happen. Now, Jiejie coming back in. There's a TP onto the minion. I just don't think there's any world where Jiejie is able to defend this, and that's going to be LNG coming out 1-0 in this best of 3.
They held the line, managed to outfight the Ocean Soul buff. It was just too low range from the top side of EDG to get their top side into the thick of the fight. As soon as LNG were on the objective first, when they were in the river first, EDG really struggled to get their secondary damage sources into the play. The Cassante wasn't a factor.